Today we're going to talk about why your law office software is not your problem and why your workflow probably is. Welcome to LifeCast, the LifeCounsel podcast. This is the attorney edition. I'm Jesse Bifulco, an estate planning and elder law attorney with over 20 years in the practice and business of law. On this show, we explore the challenges and opportunities of running a law practice that not only serves clients well, but sustains the lawyer behind it. Each episode is designed to help you find that balance between intention and profitability, between professional growth and personal life. Because here at LifeCounsel, we believe your practice should work for your life and not the other way around. Let's get into it. How many hours does your staff spend typing contact information into your system? How many hours a week are wasted scheduling a phone call, playing phone tag to try and schedule a call or an appointment with one of your clients or an allied professional? How many signed estate plans are sitting in your back office waiting to be picked up? Most attorneys pick practice management software for the wrong reason. They're dazzled in a sales meeting with a list of features. They're chasing accounting shortcuts or they're chasing integrations. Yes, those are all important considerations, but here's the truth. Your law office software won't fix your law office. Your workflow will. Most firms don't have a software problem. They have a workflow problem, and they keep trying to solve it with software. Every couple of months, an attorney will post in a forum that I belong to this question: what's the best law practice management software? And I always answer with another question. Well, how sharp is your workflow? Because here's the secret nobody tells you. Software doesn't create efficiency. Software automates the efficiency you already have. If your process is unclear, chaotic, or entirely in your head, the software will faithfully automate that chaos, and you'll blame the software. If you want to understand what I mean when I talk about workflow, watch The Founder, the movie about the early McDonald brothers. Long before Ray Kroc showed up, these two brothers were obsessed, not just with hamburger and french fries, but with how fast and consistently they could deliver them. Their breakthrough didn't come from buying new equipment. It came from workflow design. They shut down their kitchen, grabbed their entire staff, and went to a tennis court. They chalked the entire kitchen onto the surface. The griddle here, the buns there, the condiments here, every station was mapped out. Then they ran through the process of making a burger like a choreographed dance. They timed everything with a stopwatch. They erased lines, redrew lines, ran it again and again until every step flowed. And they squeezed every ounce of wasted time out of that system. That's how they created the Speedy Service system, a carefully engineered workflow that transformed the restaurant industry. And they did it before there was software, before automation, before technology. It was workflow first, tools second. Let's imagine a law office with a stack of executed estate plans. At the signing, the client was told they'd be called when the plan was ready. They leave. They come back before it's ready, interrupting the front office and the paralegal. When it's ready, the front office has to make an appointment. There's calls back and forth. A message is left, an email is sent, and then by the time the client comes in, you've wasted a good hour and a half, right? And if they live too far away, there's mailing costs, and maybe they don't receive it, or they get it and they lose it, and they say they never got it. 3 or 4 interruptions later, the paralegal's day is blown up. This is lost time, it's lost money, and it's unnecessary. Now imagine you invested serious time in a workflow. It's signing day. Your promised delivery today, not when we get around to scanning. Your team moves through the process like that kitchen ballet, scanning signed documents, assembling the estate plan binder, uploading PDFs to the digital vault, triggering funding letters, scheduling follow-up, archiving the draft folder, completing the matter. There's no chaos and no need to devote more of your team's precious time to the task of getting that plan to the client. Every step is mapped. Every role is clear. Every handoff is deliberate. That's what a workflow does. It reduces stress and increases confidence. It makes work predictable. And when you nail this, you don't just impress clients. You reclaim time, reduce backlog, and build a practice that works for your life. Some lawyers hear workflow or efficiency, and they picture a low-quality mill practice. That's not what I'm advocating. And the lawyers who think efficiency equals low quality, they're usually excellent lawyers, the kind who care deeply about their work. They know that the effort good planning retires takes time. They just hate thinking about back office process. If you don't love process, find someone who does. Don't hate on it because process is your friend. A lawyer friend of mine bought a country practice as her second legal career. When I saw her a few months ago at a CLE program, she looked overwhelmed. She was managing everything: lawyering, scheduling, admin, billing, sweeping up the floor, everything. Later, she told me that she hired an MBA who had been managing a local veterinarian's office. The MBA was underworked there and jumped at the opportunity. The transformation was immediate. She looked 10 years younger. She said, "For the first time since I bought the practice, I can actually be a lawyer again." She didn't cut corners. She just stopped wasting time. Let's address the different needs of different sized law firms. A solo attorney, and that's my law practice, so I'm very familiar with that. A solo attorney does not need the same features in their software as a 10-person firm. Solos need automation more than collaboration. Their software must be the second brain that keeps things moving. Small firms need collaboration, shared tasks, and predictable handoffs. They need to avoid, "I thought you were doing that" kind of disasters. Mid-sized firms need permissions, audit logs, reporting, accountability systems, conflict checks, and standardized templates. And one size definitely doesn't fit all. But many of the applications on the market are scalable. In other words, they come with all those features, even if you don't need them right away. And I think that if you're deciding, to choose law office practice software, first you're going to make your workflow, of course, but you don't have to overspend. But you should plan for a practice that you want, the practice you're building, not just the practice you have. And remember, no software can magically fix what you haven't defined. So don't buy anything until you do what I'm recommending in this podcast. Here's how most lawyers select software. You see something online, you fill out a form, sales schedules a demo, the demo is polished and perfect, you sign up for a 30-day trial, then life happens. You're slammed. You never test the features that matter. 30 days passed and the trial expires. A few months in, you put enough client data into the system that switching feels impossible. You now have sunk cost, and you're stuck paying for software that doesn't serve you because switching feels worse than staying. You just don't want to switch, right? You have all the sunk costs. Well, I lived this. I actually tried out a couple of practice softwares before I settled on the one I use. When I chose the software I use today, I listened to the sales pitches about IOLTA, trust accounting, and client portals, but almost nobody talked about workflow. And yet workflow was the only thing that made any real difference. Here's the tip that is everything in choosing practice management software. Before you even sign up for a free trial, write out your workflow. Write it out to the smallest detail. That will show you what the software needs to do. The features you need will be implicated in the roles, steps, and tasks of your workflow. That way, once you have the free trial, you can stress test it for the workflow that you need. If they offer pre-made workflows, try them out, but make sure you're allowed to change them because workflows aren't static, and you don't want to be stuck with a proprietary workflow you cannot improve upon or transfer to a new owner if you sell your practice. When lawyers switch software, the real pain isn't usually the subscription fee. It's all the hidden costs that come with the transition. Imagine this. You're excited about your new system, but suddenly you're facing unexpected challenges. Maybe you discover that some of your data didn't transfer over, or your carefully crafted templates don't work in the new environment. Staff need to be retained, which takes time away from serving clients. There's downtime as you reconfigure integrations and rebuild your calendar from scratch. I had a partner when I first developed my workflows and committed them to our software. It took me hours to get those workflows down. Then we entered data for 2 years. Then me and my former partner divided our practice. That's when we discovered that it wasn't so simple to divide the database. She spent hours and hours cajoling their tech team to put things in order. The company was new at the time, so they did the work without charging. But today, we would have had to hire consultants just to recreate the same data in the same application, but under a new firm. Something that I thought would be simple. Then come the smaller but equally frustrating details. Recreating user permissions, redoing automation triggers, cleaning up duplicate contacts, and rebuilding folder structures. Even something as simple as rewriting intake forms can become a major project. Many attorneys only realize the scope of these challenges after they've already committed to the switch. What's the lesson? A well-defined workflow can dramatically reduce these transition costs, because once you stress test the software during your free trial, you're likely to have chosen the right one the first time. And if not, if you still need to switch down the line some point, the workflow will still help you, because it's going to help you know exactly what your system needs to replicate, and you and your consultant will be prepared for the road ahead. It's like a map or blueprint for the consultant. Let's talk about documents, because this is where chaos thrives. Even the best software can't save you if your documents are disorganized. Picture this. Files end up in the wrong folders, names don't follow any pattern, and there's no clear version control. Maybe someone saves a template to their desktop, or a PDF gets uploaded to the wrong client matter. Suddenly, you're not sure which document is the final one, and mistakes become inevitable. We've all been there, right? A little organization goes a long way in preventing these headaches. Workflow solves this. It solves this by some basic organization decisions that typically are laid over or overlaid upon the software's native functions. In other words, these are organizational tools you're going to use just about with any software. It's not going to really matter which one you choose. In plain English, come up with standard ways of naming matters or documents. A uniform structure for folders and the names for folders, naming conventions, folder structure, versioning rules, standardized templates, automatic save destinations. You got to make all these choices ahead of time and give it a little thought. It's going to save you a ton of time down the line, and you're not going to make as many mistakes. It's not glamorous, but it's really important. It prevents mistakes. Here's something people never talk about. A workflow without an owner will decay. Workflows are living systems. Clients change, staff changes, laws change, document sets evolve, technology updates. If nobody owns the workflow, nobody updates it. In my workflows, I created a matter type called Firm Best Practices. That workflow has a role assigned to it that's the person who's responsible for the workflow. It has its own timetable, its own steps, its own calendar appointments. And the person who's in charge, they store the documentation about the workflow, why we do it the way we do, and also they have a regularly scheduled meeting where we discuss workflow improvements, how to make it better from experience. If an error crops up, we examine the error, we drag it out into the light, right? And then we pound the hell out of it in our meeting to try and say that we never, ever want this to happen again. So how do we fix it, right? Whose role is this? Whose task is this? Do we need a new appointment? Do we need a new form? And that's how the workflow gets better. You also need an enforcer, the person who manages the overall progress of the workflow on any particular case. Without those two things, that is the maintenance and the enforcer, steps get skipped, shortcuts emerge, new staff bring old habits, quality slips, chaos creeps in again, right? It creeps back in. A healthy workflow doesn't run on autopilot. It needs care and attention. Assign someone to own the process. Schedule regular reviews. Quarterly works well for me, although if an emergency comes up, like where we spot an error, it might come up in a weekly process meeting. And make sure there's a clear way to update steps as your practice evolves. Keep a checklist of common trouble spots so you can catch issues before they become problems. With these habits, your workflow will stay effective and resilient. We also have a project workflow to develop deliverables related to workflows. For instance, we need a new form letter or a way to capture financial information related to updating a plan. We'll open a project matter to create that. The project matter keeps the development of those needed items on track until they're made, approved, and incorporated into the workflow. Then we close the project matter. It's discrete, right? You're geared towards just getting one thing done. I like those project matters to be very discrete. I don't want a project matter that's called workflows, right? Because it's going to be open forever, and then you're never sure when it's finished. But if it's designated as a specific project to complete the development of a specific form or specific template or whatever, then when it's over, it's over. You can feel like you've accomplished something, you've improved your workflow, and you move on. You have a record of what was done. And all that brings me to another point. If you adopt these practices, your malpractice carrier will love you. Most malpractice claims don't come from bad legal judgment. They come from administrative failures, missed deadlines, missed calls, missing documents, unsigned forms, incorrect versions, failure to follow up, lost client notes, incomplete files, miscommunication, right? Poor documentation. All those things can really be addressed well with software, but first you got to start with your workflow. So these are all challenges that workflows and software automation can resolve. Workflow reduces malpractice risk more than any feature any software company will advertise. This is the part lawyers rarely consider. Workflow is risk management. So let's talk calendars because they're the heartbeat of your practice. I say in my book that I wrote about law practice management that the absolutely unbreakable rule of law practice, especially a small law practice, is the attorney is only making money when they're engaging a new client. Okay, that's the only time. So you only have so many hours in a day, and there's only so many appointments you really want to take anyway, right? So if you don't manage your calendar well, you're not going to have any free time. You're not going to have any life, right? So calendar management is super important, and it's a super important part of the workflow that you want to develop. So workflows only work when calendars work. When you're creating your workflow, pay particular attention to where it interacts with calendar management. I like to create an ideal calendar that shows what a week, month, or a quarter should contain for meetings. There's other stuff in there, but I want you to understand the concept. So imagine you have a template that shows all the meetings you need to have in that month or week in order for the month to be profitable. So you can overlay that with your actual schedule and say, all right, in this month I'm supposed to have 14 meetings. I already got 20. Maybe I don't have to work so hard for the rest of the month. I can go fishing. So there are also mandatory regular meetings scheduled as repeating events, like that process meeting I discussed before. The sort of office management meetings, this client management meetings, these are regular meetings to keep things on track, and you want to have them as repeatable events. Also, we add to the ideal calendar the total number of new client meetings, the intakes that we need to meet our break even each month. That ideal calendar can be overlaid on top of the real calendar so that whoever's managing your firm, whether it's you or someone else, they can know in an instant whether you're reaching your goals. So your calendar is the heartbeat of your practice, and your software should help you keep it steady. Imagine if appointment scheduling happened automatically. Reminders went out without a second thought, and tasks were triggered as soon as steps changed. With everything synced to Outlook or Google, you avoid double bookings and never miss a follow-up. And that's where automation in the calendar is going to help you. These features don't just save time, they bring peace of mind to the whole system. If you're scheduled signing appointments manually, you're eventually going to double book. If you rely on memory for follow-ups, you'll forget something. If you don't automate reminders, clients will no-show. And every no-show is lost money, right? Because you're going to have to reschedule that meeting. And then what do? Charge the client? They get annoyed. Then you have a bad impression or a bad review. They're going to be annoyed that they got charged for that meeting. But guess what? That meeting has an opportunity cost because you don't have anybody coming in on that calendar. You might have lost a whole new client because you had to reschedule that signing because you never automated reminders. Calendar automation is one of the most important and often ignored workflow necessities. It's not a workflow luxury. It's a workflow necessity. Another bear to tame is data entry. Here again, a good process can reduce errors and save time. Data consistency and required fields automation is only as good as the data feeding it. So here I'm focusing a little bit on your intake form. We used to have a paper intake form that one of our assistants would type in, right? They get the paper, they type it in, the handwriting's kind of crappy, you get it at at an odd time, you're scanning it in. It's super inefficient, okay? So you really need to automate that and have some sort of computerized intake form. It works great, and I found that even my somewhat older clients, about 99% of the time they fill it out, or maybe their kid helps them if they are having computer issues. So if your intake forms allow something like Sam Jones in one place and Samantha L. Jones in another and Samantha Jones in a third, then your document merging is going to break. Funding letters merge incorrectly, your estate plan documents become inconsistent, beneficiary designations mismatch. Consistency is key to a bulletproof workflow. Make sure your required fields are always filled out. Use standardized naming conventions and rely on pick lists instead of free text whenever possible. Keeping things like dates of birth and financial categories in a consistent format means fewer errors and smoother document automation. These small steps add up to big improvements in reliability. Workflow is also the secret to onboarding. If your workflow is clear, documented, and automated, then guess what? A new paralegal knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing and when. A new receptionist knows how to handle new clients. A new client coordinator knows when to schedule signings, how long the signing should be, how long any appointment should be, and who should be invited. A new drafter knows where all templates live. Instead of weeks or months of shadowing, new staff can be productive on day one. This is a competitive advantage. But even though automation saves time and creates consistencies, there are some things that you should never automate. I don't have to tell most of you this, but it's important to point out. Automation is powerful, but you should never automate legal judgment, estate plan design, final review, nuanced clause drafting or selection, funding decisions, or any client counseling. These require human experience and discernment. Automate the administrative work, yes. Automate the predictable, automate the repetitive. Never attempt to automate the core of your profession. Your software should integrate with your email, SMS reminders, your calendar, your phone logs, and your document drafting platform. Why? Because communication failures create workflow failures. A client who gets SMS reminders for signing meetings shows up. A client who only gets one email may not. A phone call that's logged saves hours when a dispute arises. Integrations aren't bells and whistles. They're workflow glue. It can be tricky where there's overlap. For instance, your law office software may have native and integrated calendar and email and may even have SMS features, and that might overlap with your Microsoft suite. We happen to use Copilot. Maybe you use Google, I don't know, but there's going to be overlap. And they may not always interact well. I've not found a solution to this problem because I need both systems. I use ActionStep and Copilot. We've done our best to map the interaction between our law office software and our business software, but it's not perfect. The dream would be to have only one, but alas, for now that's just a dream. After a few years, the data you've collected is a real asset to your firm. But if your firm breaks up, you may need to to divide or duplicate that asset? Likewise, if you sell your firm, or what if you decide to change software? Before you choose software, ask these questions. Can I export my data? In what format? Do I lose access when I cancel? How easily can I switch if needed? Some companies store your data in proprietary formats. Some limit exports. Some lock down document histories. Some charge for access after cancellation. You must own your data. Your workflow depends on it. Whatever software you choose, whether it's Clio or Leap or Practice Panther or MyCase or ActionStep, if you're going to implement a solid workflow, and I think you know by now that I'm telling you that you must implement a solid workflow, that software must do at least these 3 things well, okay, for workflows. Number 1, you need role-based workflows. Define your future firm today. Assign roles to people now. Reassign later without rebuilding. So if there's only 2 of you and you have 5 roles, then maybe the lawyer is 2 of those roles and the support staff is the other 3. But once you hire 5 people, you can assign those 5 people those 5 roles. If you build your workflow with only 2 roles because there's 2 people, you're going to have to redesign the whole thing once you hire other people. Number 2, it must allow for 2 sets of eyes for quality control. Lawyers draft, support reviews. Checklists will prevent errors. Number 3, it must automate repetitive tasks. Intake, design, drafting, proofreading, signing, post-signing, funding, follow-up. If your software can't automate 75% of these steps, it's not helping you. I want to ground all this highfalutin talk about workflows in 3 common time sucks and their cures. Here are the 3 biggest wins for our firm with these time sucks. It saved us a lot of time, and because it saved us time, it saved us a lot of money. So we use Calendly. I don't often suggest apps, and maybe there's another version of this function, another app, but Calendly was great because it allows other parties to book your free time. And, if you have somebody calling somebody to make an appointment, sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't. You're going back and forth. By the time they get back to you, the calendar is that slot was booked. I mean, it's just really a waste of time, right? You play phone tag and back and forth about who's free on Tuesday. Calendly takes that all away. But make sure you tailor the appointment type specifically for the meetings that you're offering. Is it a 30-minute review meeting, a full design meeting, a signing? Make sure it integrates with your calendar software too. Biggest win number 2 was having the clients complete an online intake form before the meeting. We import their data. There's no manual entry. There's no typos, no inconsistency. It saves hours of data entry. Make sure your software allows easy import of that data. Before you pick the vendors and the apps that you're going to use, make sure they work together. And biggest win number 3, the clients get their estate plan on signing day. Not in a week, not in 2 weeks, on signing day. The backlog is gone. Clients are thrilled. The firm is predictable, and workflows made all this possible. So workflows made it possible. The software executed it. By sketching out the workflow, you know what apps you need, what features you need. If you're an attorney and you're listening to this and thinking, I need this, but I don't even know where to start here. Document your workflow. Get out a legal pad and a pencil and a sharpener and make a diagram and add details. Step 1, step 2, who does what, the data needed, the form needed at that step. Write it all out. Then pick the software that can execute that, not the other way around. If you want a sample of what an estate planning workflow looks like, check the link in the show notes. It's similar to the same framework we use in my practice, built over years, tested under pressure, refined through mistakes, and designed to scale. This stuff can change your practice, your stress level, and your ability to serve families at the highest level. Thanks for joining me on LifeCast, the LifeCounsel podcast attorney edition, where real stories show why the rest of your life depends on the choices you make today. I'm Jesse Bifulco. Talk soon.